Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. We got more exciting Commander gameplay for you all this week, so let's see what our players brought to the table. First up is Chandler on Gishath, Sun's Avatar. This Naya deck is a Dinosaur Kindred deck, hoping to ramp out a bunch of powerful dinosaurs to command the board and take out his opponents. Next up is Caden on Omnath, Locus of Creation. This 4-color deck is a lands deck, hoping to trigger a ton of landfall abilities and rip out some powerful game-winning threats. Third is Shelby on Giada, Font of Hope. This mono-white deck is all about angels, using Giada to play them faster and grow them into a powerful flying army. Last is Sam on Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. This 5-color deck is all about shrines, playing powerful enchantments to grow his board state and take over the game. We're about to hop right into the game. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel. We have links to our social media pages, our free public Discord server, the Decklists, and our Patreon in the description. We're partnered with Dragon Shield. Check out our affiliate link in the description if you're looking to pick up any sleeves, deck boxes, or playmats, and use code SMOOTH5 at checkout for 5% off your order. Now, on to the gameplay.
Alright, looks like Chandler wins the die roll. He'll start with a Forest and a Soul Ring and then pass. Caden will shock in a Stomping Ground and cast his Sakura Tribe Scout and then pass. Shelby will play a Plains and then cast the Sarah Ascendant he top decked. And Sam will just play a Misty Rainforest and pass. Alright, back on Chandler's turn, he'll cast a Kodama's Reach, and while he's searching, Sam decides to go ahead and crack his Misty. Sam gets an Endatha Triome, and Chandler will get a Plains to his hand and a Forest to the battlefield tapped, and then play the Plains as land for turn. We'll move to Caden's turn now, where he'll play a Flooded Strand, and then he'll just pass the turn to Shelby, who will play another Plains, and then cast Giada, and then move to combat. Shelby is obviously itching to swing at Chandler, but Chandler points to his one open white mana and says, "Beware." But Shelby swings it at him anyway, and Chandler responds with a Path to Exile. So the Ascendant is exiled, Shelby gets a tapped Plains, and then the turn is passed to Sam. He'll start off with a Command Tower, and then he'll tap for 2 and cast a Bloom Tender and pass to Chandler. Chandler starts off with a basic mountain as land for turn, then he'll tap for 6 and cast Invasion of Ikoria, X is 4. When it enters, he gives it to Sam, and then he'll tutor a Hulking Raptor to the battlefield, and then pass to Caden. He'll stop on instep to fetch and shock for a Breeding Pool, and then he'll cast a Planar Genesis. So he'll look at the top 4 of his library and put a Commercial District onto the battlefield tapped. Surveil stays on top, and then still on instep, he'll activate his Sakura Tribe Scout to put Cliffgate onto the battlefield. Color chosen is white, and then we'll move to his turn, where he'll immediately jam Omnath, Locus of Creation. Card draw on ETB. He'll then play an Arid Mesa as land for turn and gain 4 life from the landfall trigger. He'll then fetch with it to find a Lush Portico to the field. Surveil stays on top, and there's another landfall trigger. He'll float 1 of each mana except black. He'll use 3 of it to cast Rada, Heart of Keld, and then he'll pass the turn to Shelby. He'll start off with another Plains, and he'll cast Battle Angels of Tyr. And here in a minute, he's going to ask the table if he can say he tapped his Giada for mana instead of a Plains, because this is the first time he's ever played Giada, and he doesn't know the mana can only be used on Angels, and the table's cool with it. Anyways, the turn is then passed to Sam, and he'll start off by shocking in his Hollowed Fountain. Then he'll tap for 4 and cast his Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. On ETB, he creates a 1/1 Shrine token, and then he'll pass the turn. On upkeep, Chandler will make 2 green mana, and with 8 mana available now, he'll slam Gishath. He'll then move to combat and swing at Shelby. Shelby will respond before blocks with Brave the Elements to soak up 5 of that damage with his Battle Angels. He'll still take 2 Commander, and Chandler still gets a Gishath trigger for 2. And among the top 2 cards of his library is a Vaultborn Tyrant. It goes to the field, and he'll gain 3 and draw a card. He'll then pass to Caden, who starts off with an Urza Saga as land for turn. Landfall gains him 4, and then he'll tap for 3 and Chaos Warp away the Vaultborn Tyrant. Yeah, makes sense. It's shuffled away, and the top card of Chandler's library is a Farseek, so it'll stay there. After this, Caden will cast his Wayward Swordtooth, and he ascends. After this, he'll play a Snow Mountain from the top of his library and float 4 mana. He's got nothing to do with it though, so he'll just pass to Shelby, who will play a Plains and move to combat. OG Battle Angels goes over at Caden, and Hatsune Giada goes over at Chandler. 2 copies of Battle Angels will hit the battlefield going at Sam and Chandler, and they both get 2 1/1 counters. And there's no blocks all around, so Sam will take 6, Chandler 8, and Caden 5. The only player that has more things than him is Caden, and that's lands, so he gets a treasure token. Post-combat, he'll cast a Sanctuary Warden. It ETBs with 2 1/1 counters and 2 shield counters, and then he'll remove one of those 1/1 counters to draw a card and make a 1/1. He'll then pass the turn to Sam, who starts off with an Arcane Signet. He'll then cast a Go-Shintai of Lost Wisdom, and when it ETBs, he gets another token. He'll then move to instep, and the Go-Shintai will trigger. He'll pay the 1 and have Shelby mill 4. He'll mill Segovian Angel, Big Avacyn, Folk Hero, and Valkyrie Harbinger. And then we'll move to Chandler's turn. His Hulking Raptor will float him 2 green mana, which he uses to cast that Farseek. This will get him a commercial district, and he surveils. It stays on top, and then he'll cast Urza's Incubator, and he'll name Dinosaur. That lets him then tap for 3 and cast Wrathful Raptors. Then he'll move to combat. He swings Hulking Raptor over at his battle, and then Gishath goes over at Caden. They both decide to not block because, holy crap, Wrathful Raptors is really good. It makes blocking really hard. Anyways, there's a Gishath combat damage trigger. This will hit Regisaur Alpha and Curious Altasaur. And when the Regisaur hits the field, it'll create a 3/3 dinosaur. Then the turn is passed to Caden. And the first thing he does is cast a Renin 7, who is upticked, and this reveals Elvish Reclaimer, Citadel Gate, Scoot Swarm, and Farseek. Lands go to hand and the rest go to yard. He'll then play the Citadel Gate on blue and gain 4 life when it hits the field. And then he'll pass the turn to Shelby. He'll play a Plains and then cast a Mind Stone. Then he'll cast his Firemane Commando, and it enters with 3 counters. He'll then move to combat and swing his Sanctuary Warden and Battle Angels. The Battle Angels will go at Sam, and there's a lot of talking at the table, so I don't know who the Warden goes at. But using my giant smooth brain I see later on, Chandler takes the 6. Attack triggers. Shelby's pretty smart here, he resolves Battle Angels first. So when those 2 angels hit the field, they'll both get 4 1/1 counters, and then he'll remove a counter from one of them to draw a card and make a 1/1. And he says the one that he removes the counter from is the one going over at Caden. There's also one more trigger for him to resolve, it's Firemane Commando, and he'll draw a card. Moving to blocks now, Sam doesn't, and he'll take 5. Then Chandler blocks the 8/8 Battle Angels copy with his Curious Altasaur, and Caden also can't block, and he'll take 7. Shelby does decide to stop before damage though, and Stroke of Midnight Wrathful Raptors. Pretty good play, because that Curious Altasaur was about to have 8 damage it could point anywhere. Anyways, now damage will finally go through. And he, once again, only gets a treasure. The turn is then passed to Sam, and the first thing he'll do is cast Sanctum of Stonefangs. He gets another Shrine token, and then he'll cast a Honden of Night's Reach. More shrines. He'll then pass the turn, and on instep, he pays 1 to mill somebody. Chandler mentions if we want to go on the full Shelby mill train, he has a card that can help get cards off his library too. So Shelby is the target, and he mills 8. It'll be Bishop of Wings, Dazzling Angel, Knight of the White Orchid, Iganjo, a Plains, Inspiring Overseer, and a Sword of the Animist. Let's now move to Chandler's turn, where he gets to float 2 green mana on his first main phase. He'll use one of it, his Soul Ring, and then he'll tap for 2 more red to cast Itali Primal Conqueror. Yeah, I guess that does get cards off Shelby's library. It resolves. ETB trigger exiles a Case of the Locked Hothouse from Caden, a Soul Ring from Shelby, Amanatu from Sam, and Chandler himself exiles Final Showdown. Alright, he's got some options here. He chooses to cast the Soul Ring first, then the Case, then he'll cast and pay mana into the Final Showdown, and then the last thing to resolve will be the Amanatu. Oh boy. So the Soul Ring and Case will hit the field, then he'll pay 6 mana into the Final Showdown to give Gishath Indestructible and then destroy all creatures, and then Amanatu will resolve so she gets to live. Alright, Gishath now has free swings anywhere. It goes at Shelby, and since Chandler didn't remove abilities, Gishath triggered for 7. And the only thing he hits is a Regal Imperiosaur. Honestly, after a board wipe, that's good for the rest of the table. Anyways, the turn is now passed to Caden. His Urza Saga takes up to 3, and he goes and gets Soul Ring to the battlefield. He'll then recast Omnath and draw a card on ETB. Then he'll cast a Spelunking. On ETB, he'll draw a card, and then put Baldur's Gate onto the battlefield. Then he'll pass the turn to Shelby. He'll play a Seraph Sanctuary's lane for turn, and then cast Book of Exalted Deeds. He'll then cast himself a Serra Paragon, and then a Segovian Angel with its ability. After this, he'll move to combat and swing Sanctuary Warden over at Chandler, and on attack trigger, he'll remove the last 1/1 counter to draw a card and make a 1/1, and Chandler takes 5 in the air. Shelby will then pass the turn, and thanks to Seraph Sanctuary's life gain abilities, he's able to make a 3/3 on end step from his Book of Exalted Deeds. We'll move to Sam's turn now, where he's got a couple shrine abilities early in his turn. He'll make Chandler discard 2 cards, which will be Galton Mavrin and Regal Behemoth. Then he'll make everyone lose 2 and he gains 2. He'll then cast a Smothering Tithe, and then he'll pass the turn to Chandler, who gets to Surveil 2 on his upkeep. 1 will stay on top, and a Spire Garden will go to the graveyard. He'll then move past his draw step and pay for Smothering Tithe. Then he'll play 3 Tree City, then cast Welcome to. Caden's Soul Ring, Shelby's Mind Stone, and Sam's Arcane Signet all become 0/4 walls. Chandler will then move to combat, and Gishath goes over at Caden for 8, and Amanatu will hit his battle. There are no blocks on either side of the table, so the battle will transform into Zalortha, and there's a Gishath trigger for 8. And after an entire game of mediocre Gishath triggers, Chandler finally hits a bomb one. He hits Earthshaker Dreadmaw, Bone Horde Dracosaur, Hunting Velociraptor, Zakama Primal Calamity, and Apex Altasaur. He's got 2 ETB triggers from this, a draw 7 from the Earthshaker Dreadmaw, and a lot of fights upcoming from that Apex Altasaur, and he chooses to resolve the Altasaur first. The first thing he fights is Shelby's 1/1 token. Enraged trigger will then have it fight Omnath, then Shelby's Sarah Paragon, then his Los Segovian Angel, and when it dies he gains 2 life and it's exiled. Then its final fight to the death will be against the Sanctuary Warden, which just removes the shield counter. Then Chandler will draw 7, and he does not pay 2 for any of them. And since he's got 2 land drops, he'll play a basic forest. After this, he'll cast a Swooping Pteranodon, and he gains control of Shelby's Sanctuary Warden. Then with the last of his mana, he'll cast Ravenous Tyrannosaurus, and as it enters, it devours Shelby's Warden. Chandler will then pass the turn to Caden, and on end step, the case is solved. Caden will start his turn off with a Navigation Orb, then he'll cast Retreat to Coralhelm, and then sacrifice his Navigation Orb. He'll get an Izzet Guildgate to the battlefield, it enters untapped, and then an Azorius Guildgate to hand, which he plays as land for turn, it also is untapped, and he'll scry 1 to the top twice. After this, he'll cast a Conduit of Worlds and pass the turn to Shelby. Shelby starts off with a Baneslayer Angel. He'll then activate and exile his Book of Exalted Deeds to make said Baneslayer Angel essentially a Platinum Baneslayer Angel. And then the turn is passed to Sam. On upkeep, he has Chandler discard 2 more cards. It's 2 lands, then on pre-combat main, everyone will lose 2 and he gains 2. He'll then cast an Enchantress's Presence, and then Blind Obedience. He'll draw a card off this, and then cast Sithis and draw another card. He'll then play a Scrubland as land for turn. Then he'll cast Destiny Spinner, and this time he'll draw 2 and gain 1 life. He'll then do it again with a Sanctum Weaver, and then again with a Rhystic Study. But now he is out of mana. He was really trying to dig for a board wipe there, but never found it. Chandler can almost certainly kill 1 or 2 people here, but he's going to try to go for the win. On upkeep, he surveils 2 and puts a Taiga to the yard, and then forgets his Dracosaur trigger. Then he'll play a Plains as land for turn from the top of his library, and then a Cavern of Souls from hand as his second land drop, and he'll name Dinosaur. After this, he'll activate 3 Tree City to float 9 green mana. And he'll use 5 of it and his Soul Ring to cast Rishkar's Expertise, and he does pay the 1. His biggest creatures are Zakama and Ravenous Tyrannosaurus, they're 9/9s, and with the 1/1 buff from Regal Imperiosaur, they are 10/10s, so he'll draw 10. And then the spell he casts for free is a Chroma's Will, both modes chosen. 10 Smothering Tide triggers also are not paid for, but he does pay for Rhystic Study. With the Chroma's Will still in the stack, Sam cycles Spara's headquarters but doesn't find anything, so all of Chandler's creatures now gain Flying, Vigilance, Double Strike, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Protection from all colors. So Chandler will now move to combat, and the first thing he does is swing his Ravenous Tyrannosaurus at Sam and have its attack trigger kill the Baneslayer Angel. Then Chandler just needs to swing a double strikey Gishath over at Shelby, and that'll kill him. Then after this, he's got more than enough power to kill both Caden and Sam outright. So that makes Chandler and Gishath the winners. Congratulations. Alright, welcome to the end of the video, everybody. If you ask me, that was a pretty exciting game. Shelby's Angels flooded the board pretty early and were getting massive and dealing a decent amount of damage to everybody. But that final showdown from Chandler really allowed him to sneak ahead. Keeping an 8 mana commander after a board wipe is huge. And unfortunately, the other sides of the table weren't able to find their own board wipes to deal with him. But let me know what you guys thought about this game down in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to check out all of our links and like and subscribe if you haven't already. But that's enough out of me for today. I hope you all have a smooth day.